Well, hey, what's up, everybody? Matthew here. Thanks for checking in again to my book reading club. I'm glad you're here. I'm going to try to do videos like this on Mondays. Now, Monday does happen to be my day off. So, some of you have asked, what time will I regularly post the book club video? Answer to that, I'm not really sure. Usually on Mondays, I get up, I do my devotions, I go for a run, I do a couple of chores. I might have to mow the lawn since it's my day off. Usually, I might fix something about the car or the house or whatever kind of repairs have to be done. Monday's my day to do everything that I have to do to get ready for the big week that is to come. So there's no set time, but I'll try to do it around noonish, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit after noon, something like that, just to try to stay consistent as we study through this book together. If you're new to the book club, what's up, everybody? We're studying this book right here, Messiah the Prince Revisited, originally by William Symington, and it's been edited and abridged by J.K. Wall right here. Now, if you're hardcore and you want to read the original edition, there is another edition. Let's see, do I have it? Yep, it's right here. This one right here, both done by Crown and Covenant Publications. This is the unabridged edition. I don't think it's too hard for you. I really don't. But we're going to be working through this edition right here because it's shorter, because it's abridged, a little bit easier read, and the chapter divisions happen to work out. So anyway, Mondays around noon is when we're going to do book club together. Now, let's do a little bit of housekeeping here because I really haven't thought maybe as clearly about how to do a book club as I probably should have thought about it. Last week, I posted this video both to Facebook and to YouTube, and I told you to go to my Facebook pinned post and answer the questions there, which nobody did. There were two comments. I think they were both my own comments, so that didn't exactly work. But nevertheless, there are some people on Facebook that maybe aren't on YouTube. I also posted the video on YouTube, and I told you to go to my pinned post on the posting section of my YouTube channel, which again, nobody really did that. Most of the comments were on the video itself on YouTube. So maybe we'll stick with that. Now, if you do happen to be watching on Facebook, just go ahead and comment anywhere. I don't really care. It's mostly for your benefit as it is for mine to work together this book together. I would sort of like to have a bit of a community where we answer the questions together, and maybe there's even some back and forth about how we're going to answer some of the questions. So, nevertheless, if you're on Facebook, go ahead and answer on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, let's stick to the main video and we'll just comment like we normally comment on any one of the videos. And I will try to do better. This is my pledge to you. I will try to do better at replying to comments because normally I don't do very well at replying to comments. And the reason is because I have over 1,000 videos and comments just stream in continuously 24 hours a day. So there's just no realistic way that I can answer questions like that. Okay. That notwithstanding, let's talk now about the pace of the book. So hopefully you've got the book now. We are in week 2. Whether you're reading from this one or this one right here, that's fine. So the reason we're going to use this one primarily is because of the setup of having 12 chapters, and that's going to work really well for us, I think, as we read this book over the course of 1 month. So if you're just joining chapters 1, 2, and 3, you really need to hurry up and get those done because I'm counting that as the first week. And we're starting today, week 2 of our journey through this book. So what I'm going to assign and to try to ask you to read is chapters 4, 5, and 6 of the abridged version right here. So as I did last week, I'm going to ask 5 questions and I will post them both on Facebook and on YouTube. And here they are. Let me ask the questions now for chapters 4, 5, and 6, and then I'd love for you to study along and try to answer the questions as you go. First question, here's question number 1. I'll post these as well as reading them out loud too. When and how did Jesus become the king? Okay, so the concept of this book, Messiah the Prince, is that Jesus is the mediatorial king. Now, that's a big word. That means that Jesus is the mediator between God and men. And so, as the mediatorial king, he's the Son of God and he rules over all things. Now, that provokes an interesting question, doesn't it? When did Jesus become king? And as you're reading, especially chapter 4, you're probably going to notice that there might be a couple of answers to that question, and they might even be good answers to that question. For instance, it might be right to say, in one regard, that Jesus has always been the mediatorial king, in as much as the ontological Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, have always been together, right? There's no time in which Jesus popped into existence. He's not a creature like you and I are creatures. We were made, we have birthdays. When God created the world, he started it. But the Son of God has no start in that sense. He is the eternally begotten Son of God, co-equal with the Father and with the Holy Spirit. So that might be a possible answer. You'll have to think about that. Then again, if there was a moment in which Christ had sort of an inauguration, we might say that the answer is at the triumphal entry as Jesus comes into Jerusalem on the last week of his life and they throw down the palm branches. Interestingly enough, this week in some Christian traditions is Palm Sunday. So if you follow that Christian tradition, then you might be celebrating or hearing a sermon on Christ's kingship this very Lord's Day. Then again, maybe the most precise answer is to think very intentionally about Christ's ascension to the right hand of the Father, because as you're reading through chapter 4, you're going to notice several texts in which the ascension of Christ is mentioned in important ways, even including texts like Daniel chapter 7, but certainly texts like the end of the Gospel of Luke or the other Gospels and the first chapter of the book of Acts. Okay, so there's your first question. How and when did Jesus become the king, the mediatorial king? Second question, how is Jesus's reign spiritual? Now, towards the end of his life, when Jesus was being tried before Pontius Pilate, he said something to this effect: "My kingdom is not of this world." And by that, he was contrasting the kingdoms of this world, like, for instance, the kingdom of Caesar or the territory over which Pontius Pilate ruled, versus and over against his own kingship as the Messiah. And yes, certainly there are going to be ways in which the kingship of Christ is distinct and different from the kingdoms of this world. So I want you to think about that as your second question this week. How is Jesus' reign spiritual? And certainly his kingdom is spiritual. For instance, you can't go to the geographic border in which the kingdom of Christ is, and then you cross a border like the border to Mexico, and now the kingdom of Christ is not. Okay, nor does Jesus, for instance, have a standing army by which he's going to conquer opposing armies and try to usurp their territory, something like that. So think through, if you will, the spirituality of the kingdom of Christ. And then the third question is, how is it not worldly? And I guess those are sort of the same way of asking the same question. How is it spiritual? And then how is it not worldly? But if you're struggling for an answer there, I would really appreciate it if you would take some time looking at the chart. Let's see, on page 45 of chapter 5. Okay, so there's a contrast there, a comparison and a contrast. And I'd like you to think about that. That's questions 2 and 3 kind of overlapping. Next question, question number 4 is, over what is Jesus king? And for that, we're primarily going to be looking at chapter 6. And the author here is going to break it down into several answers, including creation, angels, demons, and so forth. But I want you to think a little bit more specifically about that question. Over what is Jesus king? And then this is going to lead us to the last question. Again, 5 is going to follow from 4. Are there any limits to the kingship of Christ? In other words, is there a sense in which we can say that Jesus is king over all of this, but his kingship is limited so that he cannot claim territory elsewhere? And here we're going to see, of course, that we're verging soon into this question of nations. And I think I told you last week that whether you read this one or this, it's the same book. This is going to get very political towards the second half of this book as we think about how nations, even nations like the United States of America, should respond appropriately and explicitly to the kingship of Christ. All right? So those are your 5 questions. I will reword them in my Facebook post and in my YouTube video post. Go ahead and answer right here, wherever you're seeing this video. Just go ahead and answer the questions in the comments. Let's get some dialogue stirred up. And then I also want you to be looking for another video to come out this week. My plan is to film it on Wednesday if I have time, in which I'm going to be asking the question, is America Christian enough? And here we're going to start thinking together as we're doing this book club about America specifically and explicitly. Are we a Christian nation? If so, how? How are we Christian? If not, what's wrong with the nation and how could it be more Christian than it already is? Okay, so be looking forward to that video coming out Wednesday. It's probably going to be a bit of a longer video as I'm thinking about it in my head right now, something like 20 to 30 minutes. I'm going to try to answer that question in as many different ways as I can because it's not exactly an easy question. Is America a Christian nation? Well, on one respect it is, and in another respect, it's definitely not. Okay, so I'll try to do that on Wednesday. Be looking forward to that video. That's all I have for you right now. Thanks for checking into Book Club. Love you lots. Talk to you later.